Thank you, Justin. So, National Poetry Month.
Woo-hoo!
Got this offer to do a reading here. Figured I need to stalk the audience. I mean, invite my friends. Yeah. That was a chance for us to realize that you're part of the Four Feathers Press family and that you're being published. Eventually, all of you, if this thing works out. Eventually, all of you are going to be in the 4-in-1.
Oh.
But you got a longer wait than most.
Yeah, until September.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it will come. September will be here before you know it. Really will.
Of the book, yes.
Yeah. She'll be, this is book 6, so she's in book
No.
Four? No.
No.
Eight?
9.
Oh, 9, okay.
9. All right. And so we don't waste our time just waiting for a poet to come on. Let's bring on the first poet, Petrushka. Alexieva.
Don't bother to twist your tongue. I know nobody remembers. What a lovely day, and happy to be the first.
But I see what you're saying here. So,
But I'm not so serious in my poetry. I like humor. I wish I was a three-headed fiery dragon. I wish I was three-headed fiery dragon and solved all my problems at once. As you know, all my brothers travel at night due to traffic control. That's right. The first head would lie down on the heavenly cloud, avoiding my insomniac time so I could get my beauty sleep way above the commoner's ground.
no.
Meanwhile, the second head would blow flames on the neck of the people who only exist to inflict pain to the others. I have a list. Oh, I have a list. And I give them a glimpse how the furnace below really is. A note of delight. Dante was right about hell, but my list is longer. My flames might be faster and stronger because I carry at once 3 hells. I almost forgot I would have a third head. It would be flamboyant and wild. The 2 heads would stay sober and dry. And they will give you a ride. No trouble with touching a tower, destroying a castle in flight. In fact, I don't mind to turn my domain to a beer marathon then. Folks, I would have no problem to host everyday barbecues in my backyard. Oh, pardon my spelling. What I was telling, I mean it barbecue, and you got the clue. I swear, I'm not going to steal my sexy mates. Oh, holy heavens, this is an outdated fashion for this internet age, but I'll party with no break and keep on my neck boys from firefighting department. They'll point out a hose, of course. It would be great if on every event I could get free swimming toilet there, just burning my breath in the air. No. I'm not going to flap my wings and silently disappear. My happy and dizzy third head would wave its long leg and cheer. Oh, what the heck? Hey man, toss me a barrel of beer. Pegasus on strike. You know, the winged unicorn is called Pegasus. but when, yeah, and is a symbol of poetic inspiration, and we poets write with its feathers. So what happened to my winged unicorn? I was sitting at my corner this morning, thinking to write something poetic, something for love, something that melts the heart, something that burns the imagination, and I wished myself very good one. My Pegasus was curled on the floor, resting next to my couch. I hoped he'll get up and fly, and hoped he will glide. But he said, I'm on strike, and pointed out the dazzling chandelier with his twisted sparkling horn. Oh dear! My pen began dripping blood. Heavy blue cloud darkened the sky, and purple hell began drumming on the path of my creative imagination. Then came the flood of useless words, a tornado, unfitted verse after verse, with no rhythm, no rhyme. The page began thin, almost transparent. My magic feather made hole after hole, scratching deep to the table. I was thinking I'd better write on a toilet tissue. On a toilet tissue, maybe? My stallion nodded his form. True. And went back to sleep. How I deserve this. He telepathically read my mind. You abuse me every day and night. From sunset to sunrise, you write. And you write. And you write. I'm hungry and tired. You left no feathers on me. I cannot fly. That's why I'm on strike. At midnight at least, you can share with me a glass of wine. I knocked my in my turn. Yes, you are right. With some with St. Peter's in terms. Trust the process. Oh, you have to trust. I've got company in the divine elevator with two of St. Peter's interns, two silent angels supposed to bring me to heaven. I was sure I deserved the furnace down there in the flaming basement. Uh-huh. I was told it was a tunnel. Hell no. I was lifted up thinking, uh-oh, what if I get stuck in between two levels of this holy skyscraper? In It happened before. I was returned to my small earthly life. Not once, but twice. Uh-oh, divine angels, help me out this time. Lift me up straight to heaven or drop me from the above. I don't mind, but don't stuck me again with a claustrophobic guy. He was swearing. Then he begged hell and heaven not to die. Then he cried. Then he grabbed my skirt to stay in touch with a human soul. At least he said so. While biting his fingers and waving his knees on the floor. He glued to my legs and tried to express his fear. I just wanted to disappear. When he hugged me so tight, I thought I might completely die from suffocation. Then he began hiding behind my back for protection. He opened my little umbrella to stop the ceiling, to fall over above. Hey, you, St. Peter's interns, I trust you, but promise me, this time, no more returns. No ups and downs or any confusion. I trust the process and I had no illusion. Just bring me where I deserve. I had no willing to be returned. wake up, my heart. By the way, that's true. I was pronounced 3 times that in my life. So the last time was 7 minutes. Wake up, my heart. Wake up. It's not time to sleep. I'm here. Here. Hey, over here, sitting on the chandelier. Oh, this is an operational room light. It looks like an unlanded UFO burning rays towards my face. In my case, 7 minutes ago, I was pronounced dead. But I don't want to go, my friend. Wake up, my heart. I can hear the jokes that doctors tell about heaven and hell for their own entertainment. I can hear the gossip they share, who sleeps with whom, who got a new car, a new lover, who got a flu, or who still has a headache from the last night booze. Colleagues, I understand. 4.5 hours in a long run since they began with scalpels and stitches in my hand. So they are chatting about the last soccer game, the Premier League championship, and the refugee. They were unfair. Now I know who got the big silverware. 4.5 hours of doctor's mistakes. Oh, I almost forgot that I'm dead. On Monday in May? No way. The angels supposed to pick me up, but they are late. So, my dear heart, we have some extra time. What a start for a person with a tag to the morning. With my name, my age, and my time of death, am I really on the line to the morning? Oof, it's getting cold. Oh, no, 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 no. No and no. I want to dive back into my body. I don't want to be stuck on the freeway between heaven and hell. Chatting from the top of this fancy chandelier. You lazy heart, wake up. You trader, don't split me apart. Wake up and start pumping blood like you run on the Olympics marathon. Don't you dare, don't you dare. Don't leave me alone. Wake up, my heart. It's too early for me to visit St. Peter's shop. Life is a theme park. I believe so. Life is a theme park. Once you get in, you get addicted. You go from one roller coaster to another. You get addicted to these high to the top travels from where you see above the others like an ants or like chimps camping around the merry-go-round. And you think the whole universe is yours, but in a second you see falls down vertically from the wall. Oh yes, this is travel scare you. That you might go to hell with such enormous speed. Being afraid to death, your excited brain starts casting prayers and spells. You repeat and repeat until you get home on the bottom and gasp for air. The travel upstairs again, you reject. Life is a theme park. You seek adventure when sliding in a water, curling down with speed, but then you still did not figure out where you were in a roaring sea or in a swamp full of mud. You know, you act like a fool, but you keep going because you still dream for this glorious splash on the end. You are already wet, so you just enjoy the ripple effect. Life is a theme park. You want to keep riding straight. on the back of its pony. You travel and you notice this pony trots in a circle. You realize that you just coordinate with the rhythm of this funny-looking cowboy who stands on the center and handles the maybe a little bit short. Don't we call him God? Okay.
So I see your 10 minutes up.
I don't
10
know
minutes each reader.
how many are now.
You've already done 10 minutes.
But
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You're the
No,
first one.
thank
You're the
you.
one that did
I was thinking exactly to get them. Appreciate the invitation.
I'll keep my intros brief too. Bring this guy out of performing retirement, Luis.
Never read this long before, y'all. So this poem is called Asimilación. I am Luis Cuauhtémoc Berriozabal de la Garza. How easy my name rolls from my tongue, my native tongue. In first grade, I was cuate in the schoolyard in Zacatepec. Later in the same year, I was brought to America, beyond the ocean, I thought, in a place called California, in a place named Los Angeles. And for every person I corrected in pronouncing Los Angeles, California, 10 teachers, 10 students, 10 strangers would correct the way I said Los Angeles, California. Luis was now Louis. Cuauhtémoc was dropped. And Berriozabal became the strangest sounding name I ever heard. When teachers pronounced it, I never answered right away. How could I know they were saying my name? It was all gringo to me. This poem is called Intermission. A cricket tattooed on his arm. The farmhand flexes his arm, animating the cricket. It jumps and hops with each squeeze. It takes the monotony of work away and brings chuckles to the younger ones in the field, far from the classroom, the sun bearing down, their skin darker than in wintertime. The cricket is dark green, sweating, aching from the heat. The bone that's part of the arm also aches. Afternoon break. Homemade tortillas filled with meat and beans brings renewed energy. Happy stomachs. Again, the cricket jumps and hops for the younger ones. There's work to be done after one last chuckle. This poem is called Four Crickets. A great singer forges his song from behind a few blades of grass. He is small in stature, but great in depth and sound. He is small, fits in my hand. Perhaps 2, 3, 4 such singers would fit as well. A quartet of small, great singers would fill this room with giant songs. This poem is called The Rust Factory. Working at the rust factory, the foreman's on my case. My job is in danger because profit is lower than morale. My sweat is nothing to them. It stinks as bad as their treatment of the workers, each affected by the rust. The blood we cough up each morning has colored the walls and the floor of the factory crimson and black when the rust hits it. I'm looking to get out soon. The asbestos plant is willing to pay top dollar to any worker with balls and lungs. This poem is called Sorry Companions. My madness is dormant, but it is possible that someday it will arise and take control. My sadness is like my madness. Two sorry companions I don't want to see again, falling in love with each other. I try to hang on for as long as I can, but when I start to take everything too seriously, I feel the pressure blooming. This poem is called In the House of the Butterflies. In the House of the Butterflies, death arrives. The cadaver opens its mouth. Threads of blood spring out like a red-colored rainbow. Gold-feathered birds disappear in between the fire, smoke, and dust left by death's thin hand. The indigenous writings destroyed. The beautiful flowers appropriated by death. The walls stained blood red. The hair and feet of the Indians pulled and burnt. Only their song survives amongst the ruins. The stones keep the memory of the dead, the ones that planted the seeds in these confiscated fields. This poem is called Bed of Roses. I am proud to be named after you. I am proud of your coolness under fire. Cuauhtemoc, I can see you in my dreams. A bed of roses sustains your bronze body. Cuauhtemoc, in my nightmares I can see your murderers drowned in a lake of fire. Their bodies weighed down by gold, silver coins, necklaces. The excrement of the gods. This poem's called I Am the One. I am the one with the Aztec and Basque names. Some would say the best and worst of both cultures. I like to think the best and the best. Light skin has taken over, but my blood shares both cultures. The best and the best. I am sensitive to the poor, the underdog, the conquered. I would give it all back if I could. And if I had a choice, I'd like to stay, writing poetry to the corn, to the earth, to the people of the sun. This poem is called The Muralist. At the heart of his monumental images, indigenous laborers polish jades in the sparkling sun. Bronze-skinned artisans wearing pink corn necklaces stand out in the Book of Visions. Green, black, and gold-feathered birds soar through azure skies, forging the origin of songs. The scaffold, long removed, the passion of the muralist remains, here, holding us. Okay, this poem is called Enemies of the Word. It's after Quetzalcoatl. I suffer, feeling my words won't be real long after I'm gone. Destitute, nothing will survive. These men, enemies of the word, will bury what they can't sell. Oh, my friends, let's sing and die. So this poem is called Rivers. It's after poet Luis Omar Salinas. There are rivers where La Llorona's cries become an insane silence. The rivers flow inside us, keepers of silence in the sadness of days. In these rivers, fishermen tales are woven, but never told. The sacred rivers are the padres who keep our confessions. Ay, mis hijos, La Llorona's voice wants to break through the river's hard crust of silence. The anguish in her horse's face speaks just as loud. This poem's called Conquest. Sitting on varnished oak, drinking Colombian coffee, reading about the Amazon's rape, trees coming down like sunlight, natives forced to flee their homes, uprooted like trees and plants. The conquest is still going strong after 4 centuries. The land feels strangers' footsteps, a drilling in the earth, searching for black gold. Oh, the incessant machines. This poem is called Eagles Without Wings. It's after poet and editor Robert Edwards. We walk without feathers or wings. We land on our feet and with our eyes open. We sing with our voices rough and hoarse. We fall and get up, brushing the dust off. We work long and hard for our survival. With words we say what needs to be said. This poem is called Write Me. Write me. I too want to be a poem. Spell me out with the ink from a star. Animate me with small brushstrokes. Bring me joy because I'm dying of sadness. So for anyone that speaks Spanish, I have a Spanish version of the same poem. It's called Escríbeme. Escríbeme. Yo también quiero ser poema. Deletréame con la tinta de una estrella. Coloréame con tu fino pincel. Encántame, porque me muero de tristeza.
And you hear me for 2 minutes, really. Did a great job. We were right so far, and now we're going to an award-winning poet, Jackie Chow.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, it's the rug. All right, so this month is inspired by prompts, and then I'm gonna read some other poems, older poems. And the first one is, she walks in beauty like the night to buy gummy bears for my 16th birthday. A shiny nickel on her open palm, she hustled from a boy at the market. A wan smile on her pale face, her burnt brown hair split at the ends, her curves shrouded by an oversized t-shirt. She needed no midnight blue dress, nor velvet stilettos to bring out the grace in her steps, her beauty unself-conscious. And here's another prompt poem. It's called Late to the Party. I am late to the party, to the mayhem, the Midori sour making me spit, the chill, the neon green. I am late to the party because nobody is waiting for me. No teacher to nod at me for showing up. I'm late for the party, clutching a Hello Kitty notebook with the words, work saves the soul, scribed in curved blue letters. Let's see. Okay, this one is inspired by Bukowski, who wrote, so you want to be a writer, and if it doesn't burst out of you like a rocket, don't do it. And this is my response to him. So you aspire to be a writer. If you have to pull your eyebrows or nose hair just to eke out a few words, you can still do it. If it squeezes out of you as meagerly as a slice of lemon, you can still do it. If you have to summon spirits from a mirror just to get inspired, you can still do it. If you have to show it to your shrink or your peers in a psychotherapy program, you can still do it. If you post all your rejected work online just to get a few likes, you can still do it. If you write so you can call yourself a writer instead of unemployed, you can still do it. There's really no one way to write, whether it comes pouring out or drizzling from fire or ice inside you. Okay, so here's the last one of my funny poems before I read some more darker stuff. Okay, this is called Why a Cat Didn't Write My Poems. A cat would not use a thesaurus in an attempt to sound astute, but calls everything what it is. While I mull over the cordylis as a possible lizard substitute, a cat would not use a thesaurus. The cat is a natural genius. Her meows aren't meant to be cute, but to call everything what it is. Pretending to be decorous, I avoid words more vulgar than shoot. A cat would not use a thesaurus. So is the feline the real poetess, spreading dirt with her foot, calling everything what it is. Her mouth is like a cactus, bearing prickly pink fruit. A cat would not use a thesaurus, but calls everything what it is. So that one was a villanelle. So I'm gonna read a couple of villanelles. I love writing in that form. And this one is not as happy as the previous one. It's called Spring Song. Let me wallow in the sadness of spring, the green heart of youth so easily lost. No joy does the pastel sunrise bring. In a feisty chorus, the sparrows sing. Even their songs must come at a cost. Let me wallow in the sadness of spring. With heaviness, the stone bells ring. In their shadows, I walk like a ghost. No joy does the pastel sunrise bring. The eyes of the silent crowd sting, their glances cold like winter frost. Let me wallow in the sadness of spring. In no mood for a romantic fling, I keep to my lonely self the most. No joy does the pastel sunrise bring. To blind contentment, all my peers cling, smiling vibrantly in photos they post. Let me wallow in the sadness of spring. No joy does the pastel sunrise bring. Thank you. Do I still have time?
Yes, the Grim Reaper said you got 5.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna read more villanelles. Like I said, I love writing in that form. This is called At the End of the Day. Our day ends when it is time to part. My lids fall with the curtain of night. For darkened dreams I depart. To the starry sky my black horse darts. Deep in slumber I'm my own night. Our day ends when it is time to part. To chase joy of forgotten art, I must with my own demons fight. For darkened dreams I depart. The surreal realm has made me smart to defeat the darkness with my light. Our day ends when it is time to part. Like everything is free, I load my cart, pushing its weight with all my might. For darkened dreams I depart. In separate worlds we're apart. My lone pursuit brings no plight. Our day ends when it is time to part. For darkened dreams I depart. Okay, let me go back to free verses. Okay, this is another prompt poem, and the prompt was to write a story, write a poem beginning with I was born. My life. I was born with a pink dress waiting for me. The colored Jackie O wore to her fateful parade. The satin peeled off my back after pictures of my birth were taken. With consciousness came my longing for carousel unicorns, peanut buttered bananas, and later in my childhood, the tetherball court where children shrieked in vibrant clothing, my mother pulling my hand away from the playground, my mother who fled communism, carrying gold and diamonds I had never seen, except in the gleam of her eyes when she told me her stories. And this poem is called The Enigma. I come and go, but most of the time you'd find me leaving. Out the door, a flash of a silhouette disappearing into the blue, like the sparrow fluttering away from the fountain, realizing I'm not going to share my sandwich, chirping into the distance, the way I call your name from afar, gazing at the same brilliant sun. Still have time? Okay, 1 minute. So I'm gonna go back to another villain now. Okay, here's red leaves. Red leaves fall like sliced up hearts, flooding the rain-wet sidewalk. Against the cold, my crossed arm guards. To the base sparrows, I give my regards. At my lone figure, they appear to gawk. Red leaves fall like sliced up hearts. Life deals me many unfortunate cards. Of my failures, the wind seems to talk. Against the cold, my crossed arm guards. Pursuing stardom in obscure arts. At my ideas, the mainstreamers balk. Red leaves fall like sliced up hearts. Hanging around a group of bards, my mere ink on paper I tried to hawk. Against the cold, my crossed arm guards. For these rough streets, I lack the smarts. So back to the care home I walk. Red leaves fall like sliced up hearts. Against the cold, my crossed arm guards.
Right on schedule.
Okay, thank you so much, Dawn, for this wonderful, okay, wonderful reading so far.
Four feathered friend is Mark Fisher. All right.
Thank you.
I picked a few from the Four Feathers.
Book 6 available today.
Awesome. Once, I touched a dream floating between clouds and moonshine as I clung to it like a selfish limpet till torn apart by breezes of thought. I fell like dust and ashes while she drifted like a cooling summer storm down upon sown seeds of lost hope, settling into darkness, distracted, reuniting dream and dreamer into a secret garden, separated by a wall of stone between then and there. I've now got all the time for this play within a play, between each of the beats of my heart, waiting until I wake once again. Through the stars walk, beach, ocean, sandy shore, tick-like fish walks up and it looks out to a starry black sky. Tiny brain wonders at why there is so much up instead of down beneath waves below, where swimmers will ignore gravity's force. But it chose to walk out of the sea onto land and learn to live on the strand closer to the stars. And other worlds, other fish crawling up to look at distances where light ripples like waves upon seas, with planets bobbing on waves. The universe itself craves their understanding, impermanent, fragmented, seeking more. Iron Man. Ghosts of old stars waft on magnetic breezes and spin down through dead cell and flame, learning to breathe the burning poison that rests from stone, the god's side, to shear through knots and cut past weakness of blood and bone, where is found ashes, ashes of stars transfigured. There I was, thinking that I didn't bring anything humorous, and I'm not sure if this is or not. Freeway ends. There are no natural predators to the armadillo, but the freeway runs across this landscape It is a tenet of their faith. Salvation can be smelled in exhaust, no matter what disbelieving possums might think. Unclean. Though I think they still complain in their clubs and fraternal organizations, still refusing to allow any possums in. Unclean. And headlighted death is always coming on blacktop hot as sunburnt sky. The armadillo know where the possum go. Unclean. But possums, they dream of the freeway's end and cool sands upon their feet. Sand. Dunes grumble in their slow breathing as deserts swim their forgotten shores, and beetles write stories of their own, never to be read, ancient stories, morning water and rain, and the turning of earth, where old rock has come in its multitude to reach up where birds fly upon sunlight and hope. Wildfire. In dry California hills, Coyote puts on his mask, wandering through creosote and ashes of old forests. Coyote puts on his mask, breathing all the bad air and ashes of old forests, where rain seldom came, breathing all the bad air, with thoughtless disregard, where rain seldom came. Bottom line reckoning. With thoughtless disregard, Coyote was chased away. Bottom line reckoning. To where no people live, Coyote was chased away. Wandering through creosote to where no people live in dry California hills. Reparations. Old white woman clutching hard on her $50 bill shuffles slowly up the casino's handicapped ramp. Muggy, ain't it, she says. Just 20 minutes later, coming out clutching only her free soda, spilling air-conditioned darkness and cigarette smoke out into the hot Oklahoma breeze, spinning styrofoam cups in lazy circles around the hot asphalt. She shuffles down the ramp. Beige building just next door. Choctaw go in to their cakewalk party in t-shirts and jeans, laughing with fry bread tacos and country music bought by the casino.
Yeah.
What if I told you that slowly, like seasons changing, one day to the next, imperceptibly, until it was well past begun, yesterday's tomorrow was sold off for pennies on the dollar, giving us this, our own on layaway, time-shared Walmart paradise. Schrodinger. There is a shadow, a ghost, that walks across my grave when I drive over a bridge. A chill, a tingle down my spine, as if I had gone over the edge. And for an instant, I looked down another branch of my life's wave function. A cat in a box, waiting to learn if it is alive or dead. I wonder when the box will open so I can learn which of me was real. Desert afternoon. Across the desert, wild burros browse amongst the creosote bush. I hike down rock-filled washes, faded signs of forgotten rain, looking up at the mountain's feet, sand, fluvium of its slow decay. I walk across sun-baked clay, hard as rock, leaving no footprints. Back to the car, and in the almost silence, I hear the desert settling down to forget me. I drive away while wild burros browse amongst the creosote bush. Laura?
Mark, I believe alphabetically, it's time for an essay Gerber to read. There he is.
Maybe we'll like a water.
Emergency water allocation for these areas.
Oh, thank you. It's a drug.
Drink up, you're gonna need it.
Huh? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I get some more.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Oh, boy. I need this.
Everybody was going for funny ones, but I'm S.A. Gerber. Stephen. Jewish. Desert dusk. The sun sinks into the west, the color of rust. The light is what directors refer to as magic hour. Still hot and humid, like a drunk breathing down your neck. The silhouette of bats flutter in the shadow of Sunrise Mountain. A child screeches, a dog howls. The valley comes alive. Lying supine and pondering, how many eyes will stare at this sage sky? How many sane? How many mad? How many dead? Now the stars appear like pinpricks in the warm tent top. Cannot escape their gaze. The half moon rises. Glorious night is upon us all. Comforting, like a black velvet quilt. For the time being, all seems right with the world. Candy is sweetly reliving the better parts of childhood. The finale of the fourth movement of the Ninth Symphony. Dear but doomed Norma Jean lying on her red velvet. Khrushchev blinking over a table, a final shove-in. Praise from those who you respect. The diminutive name of the first summer love. Winning the heart of a child. A canine's unconditional love and loyalty. The naive safety of bed covers while the rain pours. One small step for man. A home run hit with eyes closed. The opening credits of 2001: Space Odyssey. The Ed Sullivan Show, February 9th, 1964. A well-deserved reward for childhood accomplishment. Recreational use before addiction latches on forever. Candy is 2 for a nickel and 3 for a dime. Lost Parade. Tearing the back to shreds, crawling under a discolored rainbow. Familiar streets have turned to dust under darkened skies. The wind has ceased to blow into life's sails. A humid, tepid feeling of angst invades the body like a demon. A snarled, crooked road points the only way. Half-beat souls on palsied feet shuffle forward out of step. The path wears thin, light grows dim. A lost parade to nowhere. Great depths. Perched on the roof of a shack at the shore, trying to catch 1,000,000 stars in a near-empty fifth bottle. How many dreams have sank to great depths in the dark, vast sea stretched out before me? Millions? How many tears would it require to fill it? I've often pondered how many incidents that drive us to those tears have affected us. How many have personally touched those we know? Another thing we will never know. How many stars in the now empty fifth bottle? How many answers? What's the difference? From the ashes. Like the phoenix, she has risen, alive and well. My sweet 1972 Dove Bug convertible, white with a black top. She's lived in 3 garages in 2 states over 35 years, and after being driven, pushed, towed incalculable miles, is of today tearing up the main streets of West LA and neighboring cities once again. A venerable old girl. She's been valeted at the Beverly Hills Hotel and parked in front of the drug houses of Venice and everywhere in between. Tens of thousands of miles driven by a drunk, sometimes with substance enough on board to be held without bail by the authorities. Yet, she's always returned safely to wherever she knew was home. I've honored her by spending more to keep her healthy over the decades than I have on myself. It just takes time, money, and of course, love. Elsewhere. Heavy traffic is increasing. See it in my living room. Thunder continues to clap. Can't keep my mind on papers. Exploding cars and people land upright on my front lawn. I would get up to dance, but the music is not right. In a dark closet in the back, someone paints an eerie self-portrait. The gathered drink plenty, but lack real thirst. The ceiling of the farm loudly erupting, and I long for quiet elsewhere. Boats sail in and out of port somewhere. Somewhere there resides 25 acres. Oh my God.
You went on the clock, so I'm just.
Questions, answers?
You're done. Okay. You don't have to go to. Don't just. All right. You're all right.
Well, thank you very much.
We'll be around in the second half of our program. Marie, let's move it.
Oh, well. I have been publishing and reading the work for years.
Oh, thank you.
And thanks to Dawn for inviting me today. I do have a selection of poems that will be in a future Four Feathers anthology. Thank you very much. I was very nervous to send those poems to you. This is a noir poem I wrote a million years ago, but I still like it because it's the only thing I've ever written that is noir. How you know she didn't do that? The answer lay in the details. The way she stared at the closet door through half-closed eyes, the knife clutched in her left hand like an ice pick, her cheeks flushed with the slightest shade of pink. Her wedding ring, a diamond solitaire, turned into her palm. Hair in braids instead of a messy bun. A glass of Pernod daisies occupied her favorite vase. The clock on the wall stopped at 1:13. The mockingbird that screeched outside her window, the absence of laughter, the absence of intent, the faint vertical scars on the inside of her wrists. So I have a new book, a chapbook. I don't know when I'm going to publish it, but I'll do it through my own press. It's going to be called Call Me Pamela. I have been studying and reading the Tarot for almost 20 years, and the one deck that I really don't like is the most famous one, the Rider-Waite deck. But I decided that I was going to have to spend some time with it because I've worked with other Tarot and other systems of divination. One of the things that I noticed in the High Priestess card was that Pamela Coleman, who was the illustrator, that she actually put herself in as a priestess. And I had to go back and check a few times to get like photographs of her, and it is her. So that's why she illustrated the most famous divination tarot deck in the world. So over 2 years, I wrote a series of poems based off the major arcana. And this one is about her. It's called the High Priestess. Persephone is hoarding all the pomegranates. I know she's unhappy. The trees were pruned back last year. Branches blessed with golden leaves with no fruit to harvest. She sits between two pillars. White means stay. Black means go. And the lunar sickle by her foot is upright for reasons that escape me. The whole scenario is, as they say, sus. Especially when she takes me by the hand, bends down and whispers into my ear, call me Pamela. The other half of the Rider Waite deck was A.E. Waite, and he was the most, he's a great writer. I would have followed him on his book tour, but I don't think I would have liked this person because he was a stuck up, blanking blank in the whole world. Okay. This one is The Lovers. It's a marriage of convenience, but better than City Hall. You both agreed that the wedding clothes are silly and expensive, but weren't surprised when all your guests politely declined to appear en natural. And you scored a bonus with Reverend Rath, a flamboyant and fiery universal life minister and tree farmer, whose business card you found at Aldi's offered both a place to celebrate your nuptials and officiate for a reasonable fee. The ceremony itself was a lovely thing, quick and beautiful, with no protracted sermon or speeches, though Reverend Rath did include a rousing rendition of the Doors' Light My Fire. It's the wedding photo that gives you pause. Where you stand starry-eyed and hopeful, your beloved directs his gaze straight ahead into the future, where you become the apple in his peripheral gaze. Now you know that love is a fickle and dangerous business. This is number 10, The Wheel of Fortune. It's actually my favorite of the major arcana because if you look at it, it's very funny. And I described what the funny part is. Anubis is being flirty, his ass cheeks pressed against the rota, with an arm sphinx on top and a free-floating serpent tongue aimed to tickle the poised foot of Anubis in order to dislodge his buttocks so the disc can spin. You can't hear the conversation among the aspects of yourself, sneaky, subversive, and sexy, framed by 4 sober gatekeepers who guard these parts of you because you're not any of these things. At least that's what you keep writing down in the pages of your memory, a mantra that's been with you always. This is why the wheel needs to break. This is the Star, which is also my other favorite card. And it's one that I actually gravitated to. My life radically changed over the last year and for the better. It's been said a shower is better than a bath when one wants to wash away shame and depression. But you disagree as you slowly submerge one foot into the cool, forgetting water. Afraid to pollute was a new beginning. You keep the other foot firmly planted on the earth and watch your image, pale, naked, and melancholy, shimmer and ripple out into the universe that is the water, which welcomes your tears and cleanses your memory of grief, regret, and all those things you always wanted to say but never made it past the confines of your lips. This is the time to whisper your secrets into the wind, which will carry them to the stars of your real family. So far away, but they'll always love you no matter what. And these will be in the future issue of the 4-Feathered Anthology. This is the last one. It's the moon. Here's another dream where you wear armor that's ornate and fussy. You wonder how you acquired it or why you need it, but the answer becomes apparent as you emerge from the water and you see 2 canine cousins howling at the moon, drunk on its phantom nectar. You hope they won't spot you and decide that you're dinner, but then you remember this is a recurring dream. And in this dream, you've been the dog who wags his tail in excited distress. You've been the coyote who howls to awaken the urge within the dog to shed its domestic narrative. You've been the moon, high-faced and indifferent, and you've been the scorpion, ready to strike. What you long to be is the road, experienced and open, with no secrets except for where you're supposed to go. My next anthology that I will be publishing when it started later this year will be a tribute anthology to Shimmy Khan. And I have 2, my favorite, she's my favorite female singer, and David Bowie was my favorite male singer. I did a Bowie anthology a couple years ago this week. And this is a poem I wrote on the day she died. It's called Saint Germain. And there's a lyric here from one of my favorite songs called I Have a Universe Inside Me. It says, this begins with that. Number 1, 1990. As I drove from Kansas City through hundreds of miles of rock and desert, your voice glided through me as I traveled through the searing September heat. I listened to your stories of pain, anger, and lost babes, how you could still taste and smell their tender, ephemeral limbs. All of this became part of my story, since my cassette tape of I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got became permanently lodged in the tape player. It was a time in my life where I was alone but not lonely, and I shared it with you. Number 2, 2000. This was a year I toiled for change, and the love of the gaslighter, who continually kept me on the verge of second-guessing myself. For 6 out of every 7 summer nights, I walked home from my shitty waitress job, a portable CD player in my purse, headphones on my head, and listened to you sing about the universe inside you, filled with your other selves. An independent woman who called out those who condemned you to be alone. The priestess who strove since girlhood for celestial connection, and the soul who longed for another to recognize and reverence the totality of what real love can be. You gave me the courage to walk away from the slave wage gigs, low self-esteem, and the abuser who utilized love as a cudgel. Your voice led me to share my poems and use my voice to speak truth to power. Number 3, 2023. I'm on the phone with a client who has no idea of my story when I see the news that you have gone. And it's all there again. The raw beauty of you, the voice I turn to in the dark, the heartache and elation you make me feel. And I wonder how will everyone whose lives you touch go on without you? The universe inside me contains all the good things you gifted me, a healing room of my own making, to hear you share your bardic tales and hold you close in remembrance of gratitude. So one more. This is an acrostic poem called The Precepts of Guido Reni's Anthologies, and it's based off a Greek legend. Atalanta was kind of like the human equivalent of Artemis. She was beautiful, and she was the daughter of a king, and the king's like, we need to marry you off. She said no, and then she gave him a possible challenge, which was to win a race against her because she was the fastest thing in those days. So Hippomenes, who was in love with her, prayed to Aphrodite and asked for help, and he gave him 3 golden apples, which he kept dropping every time they would get like neck and neck. He dropped them and just Number 1, she will never again be as alluring as in those final moments, nor he as lightsome. As a pair of tenacious bodies battle for love, their hearts race along at top speed to meet the end of the trail. The late afternoon sun illuminates a tear threatening to spill from each one's eye, as unrequited desires are cast off to the wind, and at the end of the trail they will face each other, naked, radiant, flushed, and collapse into each other's arms, meeting true for the first time. Number 2, as a species, we are meant to move forward into perpetuity, but for that one atavistic failing that renders us imbecilic as we stop in our tracks to pick up those golden globes of memory that tumble between our feet and then savor cupped in our trembling palms. A jeweled flash of clarity, Sybaritic night strung along in a chain of broken promises, and the Stygian chasm of loneliness we stumble into between one era and the next. Number 3, a final portent from the gods. Do not start to partake of the apple, no matter how sharp your hunger. Its bitter ferment will not sustain.
Thank you, Don, and everyone for being here. This is awesome to be a part of Four Feathers Press and a part of the readers today. Past few years, I've been working on a collection about intergenerational motherhood. My great grandmother, my nana, my mother. I grew up with all of them. I'm so lucky. And recently, my mother died. So as you can imagine, it's changed the tone of the collection a bit. So it's sort of redefining itself. Losing my mother. My mother taught me how to take her for granted. She took me to every appointment, came to every graduation, cheered me on in gymnastics, came to see a middle school production of Brigadoon, Oklahoma, and the Music Man, and the Music Man again in high school when my sister got to play Amaryllis. My mom traveled with me to adopt both of my children. When I was attacked in graduate school, she showed up and went with me to the police station, then home to my apartment and cried with me. In her later years, when we didn't know it was the absolute twilight of her life, she said something about how I didn't need her much anymore. And I told her the truth. I will never stop needing my mother. The grief seeps into my senses, colors the lens of my perspective, and I know it will never leave. Under our roots. In some families, the newer generation sprouts like saplings from the strong roots of the generations of trees before. Oaks beget oak, pine beget pine, and no one questions their connection. Even when the generation before falls or has its trunk severed, the saplings, now older, stronger trees, are seen as the descendants of roots of the generations before. The generations before me are more like clover, and me like nitrogen-fixing bacteria. We chose each other and provide for each other as symbiotically as the trees and roots of the same kind. As the clover of the generations before me pass, I find myself now nourishing the alfalfa that is my daughter and son. A person who doesn't understand the relationship between bacteria and clover or alfalfa won't know why we are bonded. But the generations of mothers that came before me and the generation after are bonded through choice, the adoption of a different kind that has become cemented as the saplings to the roots of their mothers. Early morning wind dance. 4,000 square feet, split level, tall ceilings, enormous clear windows, awakened by wind, too early for our mothers to be up. We were alone, or at least unsupervised. I was 12, Tiffany 7. We scurried to the blinds in our shared room on the 3rd and 4th floors, giggling with excitement at the dancing, weeping willow branches, the tall grasses nodding themselves together, the levitating leaves. Our bodies burst from our room, down the stairs, out the back door. We ran and twirled in our nightgowns, a windstorm, a magical moment to two girls in Poway who never really experienced real weather, mostly 70 to 75 degrees, sunny, maybe partly cloudy. In the midst of our ballet with the wind, I heard a panicked voice calling my name. It was my mother, standing on the deck above my windy ballroom floor, beckoning me inside. It would be decades and the birth of my daughter later before I would understand the terror my mother must have felt viewing the 2 empty beds in her daughter's room so early in the morning without explanation. The sound of the oxygen machine, perfectly spaced, on time, keeping the rhythm of life, air for a dying woman. It sounds like the beginning of a performance art piece or a number in Chicago. My mother receiving what she needs. But she tells me today she's ready to go. She knows she's going to heaven. She's peaceful. Save that teary moment, she tells me. This is the last thing she ever wanted. We all thought she would have another decade or two, but no one wants that long for her if she's confined to this bed. She wants to know if we're near the end now. I tell her I'm not happy this is happening to her, but I am happy to serve her. The best hugs increase our body temperature, release oxytocin, relieve stress, make us happier. With their release, a chill. The impression of that person's body pushing into ours, absence and lack, sorrow and grief, proves that she was here. Each memory paid for with the price of time. Tiffany takes flight. My parents' Spanish was never good at all, and the guys on the beach at Mazatlan didn't speak English very well. This became increasingly apparent as my parents and the men running the parasailing on the touristy beach outside our hotel tried to negotiate price and logistics. My sister was 6 or so, and I was about 11. We couldn't wait to fly off the shore to the Pacific, free from the worries of land. Our mom and Nana were pretty ready to go as well. It was our dad who kept digging his heels in, metaphorically, as his body backed him up, edges of his bare feet burrowing into the warm Mexican sand. Caesar, the owner of the boat and parasail, was trying to demonstrate how 6-year-old Tiffany would be strapped to his chest so that their weight in tandem would exceed the minimum for parasailing. My mom smiled, excited that both of her daughters would be able to fly today. My dad continued to protest, concerned that the beach takeoffs and landings were too close to the hotels along the shore. My parents argued, not fully noticing that Tiffany was completely strapped in and ready to go. There went my sister, so high above all of us, and Dad's live body. I miss the sting of a breakup, the excruciating pain of a broken bone, the shame of so many wrong decisions, the crumbling foundation of my world during my parents' divorce. I would gladly feel all of it at once for more time with my mother. Upon seeing 8 Mile in the theater with my family, the credits roll, as do my sister's eyes. Me, I can't get that first sex scene out of my head, dirty and uncomfortable. My family stands at the same time. I need a shower, my mother exclaims. My Nana says, well, I think that was a pretty accurate depiction of Detroit. If my mother was a season, she would be late spring or early summer, the perfect weather to visit the beach, sit outside, sip a pina colada, Chardonnay, or champagne. If my mother was a place, she would be a private island in the Caribbean. But she'd let you visit and entertain you with hospitality and laughter. If she was a pair of shoes, she'd be a pair of stilettos that somehow felt comfortable and made you want to dance. If she were an entree, she'd be on the menu at Millefleur. If she were a dessert, she'd be at least 4 of them. If she were a movie, she'd be as much Rocky as she was Bridges of Madison County. If she were a superpower, she'd be magic. What do you charge? 3-year-old Evelyn sat on my mother's couch right around Christmas time, chatting about the kind of job she thought she might have in the future. She said she would make food in Pasadena and deliver it to Nana's house all the way in Escondido, a 2-hour drive one way at least. She described all of the ingredients she would include in her food, like salmon, broccoli, and corn on the cob. As she described how she would come all the way from Pasadena to Escondido, my mother treated her story as if it were absolutely feasible and asked, what do you charge? Evelyn answered confidently, my phone. Only if you are around. As a teen in the early 60s, my mother never bothered to wear sunscreen. Perhaps it wasn't invented yet or well distributed. The result was that she continuously had to have skin cancer biopsied and removed from all parts of her body. One fall, there was a particularly large Merkel cell carcinoma mass in her upper back. The surgeon impressed upon her how urgent it was to have it removed. He said it was potentially life-threatening. My mother began calling and trying to make her appointment as soon as possible. As per usual in American medical care, she was given the runaround, long waits on hold, redirects to different offices, delays in scheduling, rescheduling the works. I called her to figure out when the skin cancer was going to be excised from her body. She expressed her frustration over trying to get just that done. If they keep this up, they're going to get a strongly worded letter from me. Tears formed in the corners of my eyes. I couldn't help but think, only if you were around to write it. 3 years later, the same cancer returned. My mother received a terminal diagnosis, chose hospice, and died 3 weeks later. The night before she died, my mother was done responding verbally, and my sister and I gave her those last doses of medicine, promising it would make her feel better. Without opening her eyes, she knitted her eyebrows and lips the way she always did when she was about to give a wisecrack. We smiled slightly, that Mom would always be home. Sometime while we were sleeping, she slipped away from this broken world to paradise.
Appreciate it.
Brings
I
us
was
to
thinking to do one on my mother.
Galoki. It's your time to read. Galoki.
Oh, okay. I like
I know you
that.
didn't listen to the
Jackie
Grim
and
Reaper.
Kingfisher,
That's
you
why you
come up
listened to
here.
it.
Okay, so
And
we'll-
could you hold this mic up?
sure, of course.
And
Okay,
I
so we're
need,
gonna stand by you.
Kingfisher, could you raise this seat? I want to have one of you on the left and one of you on the right, so this stabilize my 89-year-old bones.
I'm on the left.
Okay.
Okay.
This first poem, when I shortly after I graduated from Fuller, which is a theological seminary in Pasadena, there was this guy that he was really cool. I mean, he drove a Porsche, and he had a girlfriend that looked like a movie star, and he introduced me to jazz. And so this poem called I kind of combined both my backgrounds, and it called Psalm 150 and all that jazz. Hallelujah!
Praise everything to which I am nothing.
Praise and nothing to which I am everything.
Praise the universe beyond us.
Praise the universe within us.
Praise with Betty Hubbard trumpet tour of Cantaloupe Island.
Praise with purple haze from Jimi Hendrix's electrifying guitar.
Praise with Bob Dylan's Mr. Tambourine Man.
Praise with a Shakira hips don't lie dance.
Praise with Newport Jazz Festival secular humanists dancing to gospel beat of Mahalia Jackson.
Praise with Don Cornelius soul praying line dancers introducing on syndicated television show the latest dance moves.
Praise with Eric Dolphy playing jitterbug waltz on flute.
Praise with loud clashing cymbals of Elwyn Jones drum proclamations.
Praise with Willie Life of the Party Bobo on conga.
Let everything that has breath sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me. Okay, the next one, Kingfisher, help me read this on here. This is for Poetry Observation Week. This is called. This poem is called. Let's see. I got you got the black. Okay, I got the red. Decolonize this poem.
Decolonization or extinction. Elena Gomez, The Red Nation.
De-Columbus Day, this poem.
America wasn't discovered.
It was invaded and conquered, colonized.
Thanksgiving Day, this poem.
Don't get this poem wrong. It is thankful for family feast and get together with friends.
But does not give thanks for the genocide, stolen indigenous land, plantation and textile mill, wage slavery labor,
on which was built the wealth of our early nation.
This poem acknowledges it was composed on the occupied ancestral homeland of the Tonga people.
Decolonize Junipero Serra.
A saint he ain't.
The first peoples of Los Angeles need to be saved from colonialism.
Not from the imaginary flames of a hell with which this apostle of California threatened them unless they
closed their eyes, bowed their heads, and accepted his blue-eyed European Christ as their Lord and Savior.
This poem views the world through the eyes of the colonized, whether they be those of Jews and Anglo-Saxons under domination of Rome in ancient times,
or those of the indigenous of the land of the U.S. and Canada, or Palestinians of the land of Israel today.
Demilitarize this poem!
Like that, Dwight Eisenhower said.
Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies in the final sense
a theft from those who hunger and are not fed. those who are cold and not clothed.
Depropagandize this poem.
As Malcolm X warned, if you aren't careful, the media will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing.
Decarbonize this poem.
Stop sending greenhouse gas and shit into Father Sky.
And using Mother Earth's land and bodies of water to dump electronic waste, single-use plastic bags, straws, and soda cups.
Cease clear-cutting old-growth trees and tropical rainforests for more.
Palm oil and shampoo.
Barbecue double, bacon double, cheeseburgers to stuff corpulent settler colonialists.
Fiber pulp to manufacture.
Toilet paper,
Junk mail.
Amazon books,
A computer printed paper upon which this poem was typed.
along with the poet's grocery shopping list handwritten on the back.
This poem, like the poet who wrote it,
And those who hear it or read it,
are a part of nature,
not separate from it,
and thus one strand in the web of life.
currently threatened by the sixth mass extinction.
Decommodify this poem.
It has value even if it doesn't add 1 cent to the wealth accumulation of the richest 1%.
Deprivatize this poem and recommunalize it.
As Roque Dalton has said,
Creo que el mundo es bello. Es la poesía. Es como el pan de todos.
I believe the world is beautiful and that poetry, like bread, is for everyone. Last poem here, Bolivian Beatitude was based on an interview with Omar Oliveira Coalition and live from the Documenting Corporation. Let's see, your Udos, okay. Kingfisher is Udos, your Priest and I'm Dos, okay. Okay, Kingfisher.
And when Bechtel, the neoliberal conquistador, murmured, I thirst for a greater return for my investments, Bolivia's governor and legislators did hear his cry.
And filled with compassion for the boss's bottom line, privatize Cochabamba's municipal water supply.
But when the indigenous campesinos of Cochabamba, like the Campanero carpenter on Golgotha cross, cried,
We
"We
first!
thirst."
Oh yeah, they were told. They first had to pay their water bill.
They then asked how were they going to be able to pay as much as 1/4 of their $2 income and still get by.
Government and corporation spokesmen explained sacrifices must be made for the structural adjustment which would ensure a more efficient market, but if they were patient, wealth from Bechtel investment would trickle down to them by and by.
But when the rains came, the people of Cochabamba discovered Bechtel had claimed even the water which fell from the sky, and they were prohibited from gathering rainwater.
The water didn't come from that pendejo, so why the hell is he charging us for it? They asked.
When the people saw how their government defended the private property rights of a corporation over their sacred right to drink water, they took to the streets shouting,
The water is ours, damn it!
They sent the police. They shot tear gas. 2 children blinded.
And the corporations march on shouting, El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
They sent the army, they fired guns, 6 killed and 175 wounded.
Compañeros marched on shouting,
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. At the climax of the struggle, the police remained in their stations. The army stayed in their barracks. The members of Congress became invisible. the governor went into hiding and afterwards resigned.
The only legitimate authority left was
El Pueblo Unido jamás será vencido.
Not done yet, not done yet.
Who's the boss?
You can join in, you know. It's coming, another one's coming, okay. Are you ready? Is it me? That one?
Yeah.
I got distracted. So people gathered at the city square, making decisions in large assemblies, and at the end, they made the decisions about the water.
Blessed are those whose thirst for justice will never be quenched until it rolls down like mighty waters from an ever flowing stream.
Yeah.
Power to the people.
That was great.
Just got two more readers. Take this guy.
Okay.
10 minutes. Or less of like
I'm delighted to be here and I apologize for being late. I left the lights in my car on last night and I have to go to the club. And I'm saying this because I only drove for 10 minutes and they told me 30 just in case it's dead again. Maybe somebody has a charge. I'll find out soon. I'm from Spain and I like it here, but sometimes I'm homesick. So homesickness. For how long has the sea known about Saturnine heartbeats, sea urchins prickling the soul, with neither calamine nor kisses from my lover and hero? Visions of my sea and this ocean paralyze me with ambivalence. Now and then, a voice whispers what I miss and dismiss. Then I peek into my chest and notice the darkness of a sinkhole larger than Florida. Like that medieval girl, buried face down, ankles bound, so she couldn't return from the grave. I'm tied to a place I love, sometimes, and fear, most of the time, that it will be the lieu where they bury me. Last year, there were terrible fires all along the Mediterranean coast in Italy, Greece, France, Spain. There's a place that I love, a Parque Natural de Moncayo, that was pretty much burned to the ground. Acres and acres of forest. Thirst and fire. Flames crepitate too close to your home. Heat scorches trees desiccated for lack of water, but still standing like Olympian torches. Straight like Olympian torches. Here in the Parque Natural de Moncayo, pine trees used to lean on each other with confidence. Now the sound of snapping on the grove scares me. Bright lustrous greens, dull already, turn red before bursting into the fireworks of superheated forest fires. You want to take to the boat, now smoked charcoal, down to the river, but the river hasn't been in its bed for a very long time. After pesticides exile trout, frogs, and salamanders to some undisclosed abandoned fishery. You believe dry seeds and spores will sprout when rains return, temperatures will cool, and overgrazing at the valley will stop. Legislation will forbid slaughtering cattle on the altar of profitability. And you doubt it. You wake up unsure as to whether what you see is fog, shadows, or smoke from perennial fires striking the flora and fauna of your mountains. You pray to Tlaloc, a god from another continent, because your gods, already consumed by thirst and fire, have no chance of resurrection. 2 minutes. With whom shall I sit? I shall sit with an old lover, eyes open with the fear of death. Will you come? Who's next to you? Is that old lady your aunt? You never wanted to sit with me in the garden, hungry ducks floating on the pond surface. I continue to sit here remembering the red coat of summer, your chest bursting with muscles. So young you were. Come here, sit with me under the pergola of dreams. Our summer has passed. Our days grow darker in winter. Rain erases memory of us sitting quietly sipping tea. Those were the days of roses of every color. My heart slows down. I sit like those scarves my grandmother kept in her bedroom drawers. I sit like a piece of rye bread on the table under the grapevine. I sit and sit. Come, sit with me one last time. The rain whispers with its loudest voice, I'm still coming. You are not here. I hear more clouds approaching, your name written on them. I sit with books stacked over my head. I sit alone in the chiaroscuro of this room filled with dusty marks. Anger from ancestors kisses my forehead, and I sit here waiting. The moon won't come tonight. My mother won't come tonight. The lost children won't be found. Morning would sweep my thoughts with the force of a vacuum cleaner. My words yearn for company. I sit here waiting for Godot, waiting for breakfast, waiting for your dusty sandals. I sit here slapping cobwebs lurking above my head. I sit here contemplating the love of all religions before they were corrupted, before the universe, before Musaka, before olive trees. Jasmine vines cling to your forehead like a wreath. I sit here waiting. Never before so much soup was served for the poor and those. I forgot those collective dinners. Diners, but I forgot what those collective diners are called. Night, dark and hairy like a rat, a porcupine, an underground mole, like some of my relatives. I was snooping, I was eating, saying goodbye without leaving. Kisses under the pergola were the reason. I sit here alone waiting. I was waiting for a word, a bird, a piece of candy. Someone playing the violin, and you are not here. I sit with me until planets bump into each other, the world collapses, shoes, the dust, the sadness, the love. Sit with me here. I'm not done yet. Tears, feathers, Russians asking for something I cannot hear. My hearing is damaged. Bombs crack the street building. I'm not done yet. Tears, feathers, Russians asking for something I cannot hear. My ear is damaged. Bombs crack the street. Buildings fall over parked cars. My heart, bloody organ, dreamt the whole thing. You were never here. Never sat with me. Didn't exist. But sit here with me before the sun goes down, before everything that never happened happens. Pearl earrings I lost, entangled on your wooden scarf. Please do not come here to sit with me, ever. One time my husband came home and said, there's a poem on the floor. So there was. There's a poem on the floor, says my husband as he passes by. I pick up the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, which is blank. Realize the poem is on the floor planks, shimmering burgundy under the light. The slightly worn center of the highway has a history, a tiny splinter by the toe kick. At the toe kick, sun rays have lightened its hard wood grain. One can see tree rings. Imagine its life at Mount Olympus. Watch Aphrodite lean on, standing vigilant to protect herself from Hermes, plans to trade sandals for favors. My grandfather built it and danced for years practicing flamenco steps. Grandma walked from the kitchen to bedroom to tend their only daughter, my mother, to a patio and garden where artichokes, silky filaments, bloom iris purple. She opened drapes to allow the morning in, the smell of coffee out through window screens. My mother liked mechanical trains, the ones wound up with a key, a damaged collection I inherited. Sat on a bench with a pillow by the bay window to read her books, until my father courted her. Both lounged on the sofa, feet on the floor, which had been sanded, stained, and polished so many times. Still looks good. My husband and I live in that house now, which has so many memories, mostly belonging to others, lying on the floor like a poem. I have one more to end. Since it is April, and the sun was out yesterday, and it was beautiful. So, April. Pigeons take cover under a red awning. A lone seagull, far away from home, sits with them in convivial silence. The scent from citrus blossoms and honeysuckle mixes the damp soil. Everything is quiet, but by nightingales, triumphantly singing the anthem of April. Jasmine flowers open their 5 arms to welcome all. And I ask myself, how should I greet this season? What rain shall I suit? What rain should I use to wash my soul's debris? How can I sit in convivial silence with strangers from another tribe, on other ways? What luminosity can I generate? How should I live my life in April?
Sorry to say that we have reached the self-indulgent portion of this program. Thank the Libros Bookstore for having my book available for sale. There it is, right there. Your support, and I hope that you will support this bookstore by and each other's books too while you're at it. I've been promoting. So I'm going to read a poem from my previous book, and then I'll read a couple from that book. I only bring up the previous book because some crazy guy named E.R. Sanchez wrote a review of my book. Very nice review. I'm going to track him down to thank him. But it is available on Amazon.com only because I'm totally sold out. And it contains this poem, some others. This poem is called Mythology, and it starts with an epigraph. It says, "To such endless impressions we poets give ourselves absolutely, making in silence omen of mere events, until the world reflects the deepest needs of the soul." And that is from the poem Omens by Luis Gluck. For the undersized person. Yeah, okay. Oh, Jupiter. Oh, I should say, I forgot to say. Did anybody see the solar eclipse?
Yes.
Okay, have you gone to a doctor?
No.
Okay. This poem's dedicated to you people. Dedication. Oh, Jupiter, you are a small hole of light in a darkening blue sky. Below, in a pond on earth, ducks swim, create little waves which glimmer like ribbons. Reflect lamplight as you and the moon shine with our sun's celestial power. Are you both her beloved flowers? Only you are much farther than our orbiting fragment, born out of a collision billions of years ago. Oh, Jupiter, tonight you are more than a twinkling dot rising in the darkened indigo sky. People walk by the pond and look at ducks waddling up, easy to enjoy every day. I want to tell them, cast your eyes high, gaze at the shining speck. It doesn't seem to move. Yet slowly rises, like the grand moon far away, where no eyes can see a distant earth. We're just a pale blue point in that night dominated by many moons and nearby sister Saturn's rings. Oh, Jupiter, you are the overlooked sight, unseen by most denizens. Mothers and children throw breadcrumbs at the dark comical ducks in the park by the pond shore. Don't even think to crane at the gibbous moon, which provides illumination, overwhelmed by sulfur lamps on poles each evening. The faraway planet hasn't been this close since 1963, and not again so proximate until 2022. By then, I might be getting ringed once more. Because I am at the park waiting for my lovely visitor who appears in my life every day, and I am thankful to the heavens that our sun comes up each morning, so I can witness the moon at dusk and her eyes and smile beside me like stars to a planet. Maybe we will revisit this location in a future close as our current earthly rotating observation around each other. Present every diurnal, forging twilight sparks with circling tongues. Oh, Jupiter, this time you are the most welcome new guide in my changing evening sky. And on a topic that I experienced recently, I experienced last year. This poem is called White Gloves, and it's from that book. A single glove lies on the shelf. Inspiration, a souvenir of the Wednesday funeral I was a pallbearer for. A fortnight ago, 4 of us carried the casket out of the hearse onto the collapsible waiting bier, wheeled over to the steps, where we had to lift again to the church entrance. Once more to be rested on the conveyor, walked down the aisle, maintaining one gloved hand on the long, smooth rod handle to the front of the sanctuary, took our seats for the service. Words were said and echoed. I hadn't been here since 1985. Everything looked the same 37 years later. After my father's ceremony, I only remembered just now they had donated the expense of the carved 14th station plaque still hanging on the wall. Going on to 6 decades, it felt familiar to be back amongst the polished wood pews and the swinging smoking censer. Where prayers were finished, we resumed our positions, paced the oblong container toward double doors to return the encased body to the black station wagon for the ride to the cemetery and the final carrying over other headstoned mounds to lay down one last time the sarcophagus that held what was left of my mother. An autopsied shell hidden in a closed rectangular box. It had the weight of a woman, soon to be lowered to rest on top of her husband, as was arranged ages before we sat. All these episodes later, people saying thoughts out loud, though I was silent, masked, my brain filled with memories of childhood spent with parents and my escape to my own traumas. I'm getting Jackie-itis. Here you go. This happens to read loud. All right. It was almost finished to me. So close. of a childhood spent with parents and my escape to my own traumas and triumphs chronicled in poems, of which this one refrains from saying too much out of respect for a life tangent to mine. Now I am the eldest member of my acknowledged family. I must continue to try to set an example for my adult children and how to let go of the past. In rows, gently recalling the wake. First time I read that one. Quite a few. Now, something I can dedicate to a much larger group of people. This poem is dedicated to the people of Iran and the people of Israel. That the future is not like this. This poem is called In the World War III Museum. Piles of melted steel, rubbled bricks, and scattered wood shards to walk around for hours. Shells of ships, planes, trucks, and cars to gaze at from an uncomfortable short distance. Shadows of humans, dogs, cats, even mice to be observed on walls and floors so close you can almost touch them. Videos of world leaders in disagreement, of people segregated in differently named countries and neighborhoods in this bunker. Finally, on these tables, mounds of cooked hair, scrapings of charred flesh, and chunks of fragmented bones as evidence we were all the same. Master of the art yet, letting people know the poem's over. Stand another one, man. I feel like reading one more. Very self-indulgent. This one I owe to this lady right here.
Oh, me?
Chow. Yeah, that's right, because it's a pantoum.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'd never written a pantoum before. Workshop. And now I like this better than what I wrote before. So this is called Pantoum to Oblivion.
What's the last pantoum ever?
Sorry?
It's the last pantoum ever.
Well, it actually has a hopeful ending. Yeah. Getting this sold is, oh no, man, it's paid a price on me. Okay. Where the moon is full, I cannot bark at anyone. I blindly stare at heaven, see trees worship sunlight. I cannot bark at anyone, even though it is midnight. See trees worship sunlight, a glow glints on everything. Even though it is midnight, distant waves glimmer again, a glow glints on everything, and again I am awestruck. Distant waves glimmer again, the sand of the land walk, and again I am awestruck, tells me I am not alone. The sand of the land walk, in this moment silent fall, tells me I am not alone. When a life only wishes, in this moment silent fall. There will be time to flee when a life only wishes to the bliss of unbeing. There will be time to flee. I blindly stare at heaven to the bliss of unbeing, where the moon is full. Thank you for the indulgence. Thank you for being here. And we have Saturday afternoon poetry every Saturday at 3 o'clock. Today it's a critique workshop on Zoom. And next week we'll have a poetry reading on Zoom. And the week after that, we're going to have a reading in our new location, the recreation room in Caloki's building.
Yeah. Y'all come.
Yeah. Right, so-
It's easier. It's a.
Say something.
Yeah, go ahead. Cook.
If there is, kind of a cosmic event, like,
Have you seen
it
this?
was,
Yeah,
this
I
week,
really like George.